Welcome to Secrets of the Unseen World, where forgotten truths and hidden voices rise from the shadows. Today, we explore a chilling mystery rooted in the era of the American Civil War. It begins not in the 1800s, but in the 1950s, with a young woman named Patricia Corbett, who under deep hypnosis begins to speak, but the words are not her own. They belong to someone else, to another time, to a soldier long dead. As journalists and historians dig deeper, they uncover a shocking connection between this strange voice and a real man named John Donaldson from Shreveport, Louisiana. What unfolds is a journey that defies logic and opens a door into the unknown. Is it truly possible under hypnosis to speak words belonging to someone who has already died? Science, as expected, usually says no, but in the case of Patricia Corbett, science has remained curiously silent. It was a quiet day in November 1957. Patricia, a 28-year-old university secretary, was resting at her father's home in Indianapolis. She had often been hypnotized by her uncle Richard Cook to help treat her chronic headaches. But this time, something was different. That day, as the session began, Patricia slipped quickly into a deep trance. Her breathing slowed, her pulse dropped, and then a voice emerged from her lips. But it was not hers. It was a calm male voice. It claimed to belong to a Confederate soldier named John Donaldson. The voice described a summer day on his father's farm near Shreveport. He had been working when a large wagon filled with young men arrived, recruiters for the Confederate Army. John joined them. He spoke of the Battle of Shiloh, his first engagement, where his closest friend died, and he himself was shot in the eye. When asked if he had received medical treatment, the voice said no. He remembered no doctors, not at Shiloh nor elsewhere, until the Battle of Nashville. When asked whether Nashville had been worse than Shiloh, the voice replied softly, "Yes, sir. There were more men, more dead. Bodies were everywhere." Cook continued questioning the voice, asking about John Donaldson's childhood, the neighbors he knew, the church he attended, even the shops and the local bank run by a Mr. Emmons. Amazingly, the voice gave precise, verifiable details, many of which were later confirmed through historical records. Eventually, the voice revealed that John Donaldson had died during the Battle of Nashville, while serving as an artillery officer for the Confederate Army. Yet when pressed for more details about his death, the voice became hesitant, dodging the questions. Finally, Cook asked directly, "Can you tell us what happened when you died?" The voice responded,
"I was in charge of a cannon, but we had run out of shells. We couldn't fight. The Yankees had positioned their artillery up on the ridge. I planned to reach their cannons and use one myself."
His tone grew quieter.
"I ran down the hill as fast as I could. But after losing one eye at Shiloh, I didn't see well anymore. I kept running until I was shot in the side."
Cook asked, "Were you able to keep going after the shot?" The voice fell silent for a moment. Then, with a breathless sigh, it spoke.
"I fell to the ground."
And then, silence. "Did anyone come to help you?" Cook asked gently. The voice replied softly,
"No, sir. There was no one, just bodies everywhere. I just lay there, I just lay there.
You said you lay there. Then what happened? Cook prompted again. The voice fell silent. After a pause, it spoke.
The sky turned dark. It got cold. Very cold. Stars began to appear above me.
Cook asked again. Did you survive the night? Did you make it until morning? The voice, barely a whisper now, answered.
No, sir.
So, you passed away during the night, is that right?
Yes.
The voice said, with calm certainty. Then, in a tone distant and detached, the voice offered a final glimpse.
Our bodies, including mine, were left there for days. No one came. Eventually, an order was given. They buried us all in a mass grave.
Cook, moved by the sorrowful story, asked, "Did that upset you?" The voice of John Donaldson replied gently,
No, sir. It doesn't matter where you're buried.
Cook, still intrigued, asked one final question. After you died, did you see anyone you knew? The voice of John replied,
I went back. I saw my mother. She was in the kitchen, but she couldn't hear me. It was as if I was there, but not really.
This quiet revelation left both Cook and Patricia in stunned silence. How could such a voice exist, speaking through someone who had never known him? And where was it coming from? Neither Patricia nor Cook had ever been to Shreveport. In fact, Patricia had never even crossed south of the Ohio River. They had never heard the name John Donaldson before. But months later, news of this strange recording reached the press. Reporters contacted Cook, who allowed them to listen to the tape. Soon, the story made front-page headlines across the country, including in local Tennessee papers. Some skeptical journalists decided to investigate further. They traveled to the National Archives in Washington, where records of the Civil War and Confederate soldiers were preserved. There, buried in dusty files, they found it. A Confederate soldier named John Donaldson from Shreveport enlisted in a Louisiana unit. He had fought in the Battle of Shiloh and later in Nashville. Digging deeper, they discovered something even more chilling. John Donaldson had been killed in a lesser-known conflict believed to be the Battle of Shy Hill, a small but brutal engagement just before the major clash at Nashville. Old editions of the Shreveport Times confirmed that a Donaldson family had lived near the city as early as 1811. Other families mentioned by the voice, like the Duncans and the Nichols, had also lived on neighboring farms. Even the Forgotten Waters Street in Shreveport, which the voice had casually named, was verified. Long erased from memory, but real. And Mr. Emmons, the quiet banker whose name the voice recalled, historical records confirmed that his bank did exist and had closed shortly after the Civil War. The voice of a soldier who had died nearly a century earlier, somehow speaking through the lips of a woman who had no knowledge of him, remains one of the most mysterious cases in the study of hypnotic phenomena. Was it a case of reincarnation, spirit possession, or something far stranger, an imprint of consciousness crossing time itself? We may never know. Thank you for staying with us through this mysterious and thought-provoking journey. This has been another true story from Secrets of the Unseen World. We'll see you again in the next tale from beyond.